It has only been 5.5 weeks, 5.5 weeks since September 17th, 2011, and already there is violence. I suppose it's something we could expect. Of the 99% who are in the 10 cities who are protesting, 1% at least are violent. And then they say about 30% of those people in the 10 cities are homeless, are mentally unstable. They're just there for the free food. They're a tremendous weight, and we don't know what they're going to do. So the question for the Wall Street protest movement, as all movements, is how to organize and regulate so that our actions are in accord with our message, with what we're protesting about. Violence must be denied, because violence only leads to violence. Look at the 1960s revolt against the Vietnam War. It began well, but then it led to violence and petered out and became nothing. What's true of the protesters should be true of the police as well. Why did they use horses, tear gas, flash grenades, and so forth? Why didn't the mayor first go to the 10 cities and speak to the protesters, find out who they were and what they wanted, and what alliance could be formed? Instead, she was in Washington, D.C., lobbying. When she came back, she reversed the decision. The 10th city was already cleared out. She let them back in. What happened next? They marched on the Port of Oakland, the 5th busiest port in America. And those who are prone to violence masked themselves. And what did they do? They set fires, they broke windows, they threw rocks at police, and got the same in return. Police were injured, protesters were injured. A zero-sum game. And what about the politicians? Who do they favor? Main Street or Wall Street? If we look at their actions, how they deregulated all the laws that were put into effect to keep us from a great financial breakdown as we had in 1929 and through the 30s, they eroded them all so the Wall Street boys could play their casino game, in which, interestingly enough, they privatized profits and socialized losses. The politicos have to be influenced. They're not going to be influenced by violence. So the Occupy movement, in my judgment, has to learn to occupy itself. And how do we do that? First, we have to understand that we're occupied to begin with our dreams, our ambitions, our memories, and so forth. And how do we do that? Well, the first thing is to recognize that, am I really one indivisible self, one indivisible I? Or am I many eyes, many selves? I say one thing one day and one thing the next, and they're contradictory. How could that be? William James, the great philosopher and psychologist of the last century, said, man is not one, he is many. If we look in the Bible says man's name is Legion, many. Yes, and Adam, man, it says in Genesis, was given the power to name the animals. This is taken usually in a very literal way of naming deers and turkeys and monkeys and so forth. But what if there's a deeper way of looking at this? What if I can name the animal instincts that cause the violence, the sides of myself that are animal? Wonder if I could name them. Then I might control them. I could see when they were arising and deny them. There's an ancient saying that if one would become truly one, they first must become two. This we might explore in another conversation a little later. Thank you for listening.